Hello and welcome into the Sorare Data Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as a Lairdinho on Sorare. Here today with Gator Guy 230. Want to talk about super, but we've got Surfula here too. Surf, what's up?
Hello, everyone.
We didn't know that he would make it. This is like such an exciting thing.
So I would love to just immediately throw Surf under the bus and be like, "This is why we're late," but it's not. It's totally my fault.
Well, hold on. Should we actually tell everybody why we're late? So the reason we were late is Surf and I were giving Laird all of the details he needs to know to write new AI code for Sorare Data so that Sorare Data can just go ahead and create all of our lineups using advanced algorithms, and we'll all be good. And we can just be robots on a desk, right? Just watch the games, Laird?
Oh, yeah. All about the
robot.
robot.
No?
All about
No?
the robot.
Try.
Part of it was having AI replace me. So while I'm still here, thanks everyone for coming in. Non Hatlingen and Pico player on the podium. Super rare content finally. How about that? Hatlingen might about to be called poor. I don't think that's where we're going. Andy Black, what's up? This title is Keith's coping mechanism. So we'll get there. Hold on. Bob, what's up? Toby, Daniel, unless someone is bankrolling me, I'll be in limited. Well, just wait. ZM Star, Novelty. I have a horrible feeling by the end of this live stream, I'm going to feel even more poor. Maybe. I don't know. Pico Player said, as long as Keith doesn't convince me to go into Super Rare Champ or MLS, I should be fine. Good luck. Tommy Tuesday, Mikey Bastin. Thomas, I just want to see if Keith buys a third Almiron Super Rare on stream.
Somebody selling, sure.
Assets and Sports, what's up? Germ, Mike, there was not biohacking. Don't worry about that. Looking for Food said, was tempted to build a cheap Super Rare team, but was put off by this show. Wow, we haven't even started yet. Anyway, Redder Dead 69, Harry Trades, what's up? Thomas says, Sorare Data should add a bot to the website called Laird GPT for lineup building. No, if you want lineup building, you either hit the suggest button or you let Harry do your lineups for you. But anyway.
But don't listen to Harry's captain choices.
But low blow. Accurate, but low blow. Anyway, I'm very excited that I'm very excited that Surf's here. Which immediately sounded like I was not happy that Keith was here. However, the reason for that is because the three of us were having a conversation about super rares, and it was like, it felt like it was time that it came to a Sorare Data show, and I talked to Keith about it, and I did what I do for most people. I'm like, hey, Surf, are you available tomorrow? And I think when I asked him, it was technically later today, and he was like, I'm not sure I can make it, and here he is. And so that's why I'm particularly excited that Surf is here.
Absolutely.
I want to go into, slight background. Keith, you were on recently talking about all of the MLS super rares that you've bought. Surf used to be a very big Champ America and then Contender super rare guy. All of a sudden, he's buying in-season Prem rares, and sanity has prevailed, and he is back playing Contender super rare. But the super rare conversation all stemmed from kind of, Keith, what you brought up recently about not so much what So Rare looks like today, but basically like one of the concerns that you have about So Rare in a few years in terms of really like competing for rewards. So if you could at least tell everyone about that part, and dive into it.
And thanks for, literally we were prepping for this. I couldn't find the chat. I'm like, either one of you guys see, so I can try to remember what I was thinking, and Surf found it. So I was able to reread kind of the stream of consciousness thinking there is. Okay, let me clarify too. It was done to defend my own choices, right? So there's complete bias in it. I had already blown a good chunk of money.
But I don't think you were, sorry to cut you out there, but like, I don't think that was the point of it. It was this is what I've done because this is how I think So Rare is going to play out in the next few years. And you did what every sane person on So Rare does. You make the moves, and then you talk to people, and you're like, was this a good idea? And that's all it was.
You're actually still being a lot nicer. I made all the moves. And then I provided the justification for why the moves made sense. And then I told everybody, while also trying to justify it, to really make everybody go, Keith, it's fine. Just keep buying. Just go. So that's really what happened. But no, I think there's some credence to it, at least. Essentially, and this is going to be more of a, in my opinion, classic conversation than in season, because in season we do have scarcity and capacity of the players locked in. Like, of course, there can be one more classic player to come in there. I want to talk about that strategy later too. But we know rares, 100 Kimmiches in season or 100 Carl skills, maybe a little bit less, all that type of thing. So we know that capacity. But in classic, there are a lot of cards, and every single year there's going to be a lot more that come. And at some point, I think in limited and rares, limited we're probably getting fairly close to it now, but it's can be collection contests that I'm going to keep using Kimmich, but whose Kimmich is at the highest percentage? Did you have a Bayern stack and you did Kim Min Jae versus Epamecano? Did you do, did you go contrarian? Did you play Sane instead of Kane? I don't know why I'm going Bayern. That's just what's coming into my head. It just becomes like a percentage contest, and everybody's crammed in up top. And it could be like a one player, a captain decision, a percentage decision in limited. In a couple of years, that could be where we're at with rare if there's no evolution changes in the game. Just what we see right now, if you just extrapolate that in 4 years, what you're seeing in limited is now going to come to rare. But super rare is 1/10 of the scarcity. And what we've seen in past years too is not even 1/10, because nobody really ever gets to 10.
Because I don't think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No. I'll let you say what you're saying. But like some of these guys only get 5, 6. Like there's been good players that only get 6 mints. So you start going, it's been 5 years and there's only 30 gills or 30 Kimmiches. Obviously there's more than that, but you'll have guys like that. So go ahead, sir. That's what my thinking was.
Because I think as well, I don't think it's necessarily just a classic issue as well. In that, like, I've been playing Premier League in season, and I thought I was like super smart. I'll get my Salah, and my Salah will like be my classic card in D1. But the effect of having Salah in D1 is like so minimal in terms of if I would imagine that out of the 130, 40 lineups in Premier League in season D1, such a huge amount of them have Salah. Like, I don't move on the leaderboard, and when Salah scores, I just stay exactly where I am. And I kind of get the game. That's part of the game in a way, but it's kind of not as fun as well in a way. I don't know.
I think when you just look at the raw numbers, like Keith, you were saying that, like, we're at 37 Carlos Heel super rares. And so, like, realistically, 37 lineups can have that. Mm-hmm. And when you look at rare, and we're at 401, like, it's a lot. It's just so much more. Sorry, 411. It's just so many more. And obviously we know that you have to compete with more of those cards in rare because there are more of them, and obviously in limited. But the jump from 37 to 47 is much less meaningful than the jump from 400 to 500. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people have appreciated that. And it's just going to keep going that way. Like, the separation will continue to get bigger. And theoretically, the more super rares that are out, they get a little cheaper. I don't know if that ends up being the case or not, but just the number of people that you're going to have to compete against, and the number of like duplicate lineups we're going to see, which is probably why they've hinted at like tactics being included in some specials and stuff like that. Like, there's so much more that you have to deal with at limited and rare. And like you said, like, rare in 4 years could look like limited now. And we already know that limited is very difficult. And super rare, the amount of difficulty increase just doesn't seem like the trajectory is as high based on the cards.
I want to make 2 more points too. One, I thought of last night just thinking about this show, which again, this is going to be post-buy justification, but I'll say twofold. One, super rare is still scalable. I think rare and limited, if you just want to go 5-year journey, the classic game and those are not scalable right now. Without tactics, without something in there, it's just going to be a cram show at the top where you're going to have like first place and second place will be 0.1 points differently. And that decided things. And you not having the jersey mint to take you to 5% collection bonus will be the reason you don't win.
Mhm.
So like, that's one thing coming down. What big reason I'm indexing into collections too, is because I do think that as we get more and more people into the game, or like the more and more mints, those slight differences are going to make a big deal, and you can fix them now. They'll go later. But the second part, this is a more fun thought than that, is I remember in Rare when I got my first, and I have a second now, but my first Carl's Gill, was so excited. I was so thrilled to pay 1.6 ETH for the opportunity to have a rare Carl's Gill. And when I got him, and Laird, you will probably remember this, but at that time, the game, you could go, if you play Carl's Gill in Champion America Rare, D4, as Sean would call it, that was kind of a weird move. Would you use such a premium card in a rare competition? That's much more of a rare pro card. So maybe you go to Champion American D3, but do you really just want to win an MLS card when Carl's Gill is banked on to score 100 points versus at home versus Charlotte or Toronto or Miami at the time were all really, really rough teams? He's 100. That actually should maybe be in the global comp. That should be a global card, because now I could maybe win an Mbappe, but now I don't want to go D4 or D3. Let me see how my super rares are if I'm going to go to D3, because he's definitely going to be my rare captain choice. There was I say that whole stream of consciousness because that is how I would think. And that part of the game was absolutely amazing to me. It reminds me a little bit of like strategy type of games where you place the card mattered a ton. Like, where could you get the most EV, like the most expected value out of the card? Where was it actually this time? And now, okay, I'm going to decide in D3, but shit, PSG's minus 2,000 at home. Those guys are all going to smash everywhere with my PSG or my Bayern stacks. They're going to be in there too. I don't know if my super rares are good enough there. So maybe I will go ahead and go back over here to Champion America, where I think that he is the best card this weekend. Like, you had those type of thinking. That's gone, in my opinion, with the MLS change, which is great. But if you just have rare Carl's Gill, you're going to see there's two places to play it at that point. If the special competitions will allow him, or it's MLS. There's nowhere else. So on top of that, you've got more cards, and now you really are pushing them all into one bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So that if Carl's gets 100, all that ends up meaning is that there's no other hundreds. To be towards the top, you probably needed Gill in your lineups, and you probably needed him captain choice. And now all the secondary decisions are what's going to decide it. I think Super is still more of a game where it's not so much congestion on the players because there's only so many Gills. And then on top of that, these premium cards, you have the whole end season versus classic. So I have my own concerns with my gallery that I am messy-less, and that could be a problem from time to time. But then I kind of reminded myself, a lot of those messy super rares are probably going to be used in season as the classic card. So I might be seeing a lot less in there. So these are just like thoughts, but I just feel like super rare, because there's just so many less cards, it just still brings me back to the game that I love a little bit more, versus these 0.1s and 0.2s making such a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fun of acquiring them as well. Like,
that's the best part, sir.
You find a guy and you're like, oh, there's only 3 of him. Like, and like the chase, I have tried so for months to get Matthias Galaza in season super rare, and there were only like 3 of them that ever came when he had Genk cards, because he's gone to Jerez now. But like the chase of just sending out offers, like I've gone back and forth with Sorare Italian for probably about 3 months, like incrementally increasing the price and stuff like that. And like a weird conversation I had the other day as well was I was trying to buy a super rare off a guy, and he messaged me, and he sent me this message just saying, you can pay a bit more. You pay too much for your cards often, or something like that. And he gave me the example of this Sriracha that I bought for £50, 017. And he was like, what's even special about this guy? And I'm like, he's going back to Racing. There's only like 6 of them on the platform. I had to have one. I don't know. I just find that really fun. But, yeah.
I think that's also a part of the game that we used to have, like
totally
years ago when there weren't even that many rares. And like even acquiring rares wasn't super easy. And that was even without lister plays. Like when we still were able to like list everything. And
I used that gill example. I spent a day and a half trying to get one. Nobody wanted to sell a gill when I did that. Like it was not, or people did, but people wanted like 2.5 ETH, something crazy. And I was like, I don't even have that. And I want this card. And then, you know, as anybody can imagine, I have this guy named PSU fans too, telling me if I don't have a gill, I'm going to lose. And I'm like, oh God, I'm new to the platform. I'm like, I have to have this guy or I already lost. Damn it. So.
There was a comment before
about the selling.
No, not that, but we will get into that one. Excuse me. Liam said, are you saying that the gameplay will be more appealing due to the scarcity or the prices will go up? The first I can see, but the second I don't see it happening.
No, there's no conversation about prices going
up
or anything. This is not the stream for that. I've long decided, like, I personally am treating this more from a gallery evaluation standpoint and like how I play this game. I'm treating this more like I haven't played FIFA Ultimate Team or that type of stuff forever, but I'm in more of that mindset that whatever I can get for the cards on the back end, if I want to sell them, like that's fantastic. But like I'm buying these cards to hopefully yield new cards and money from them, not to go, I think that this guy's value can go up. I think we've seen the MLS market. If you did that before the announcement, you're doing quite well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, and I think as well that Super Rare feels less like that Ultimate Teamy kind of game in a way, in that like, for instance, I've always had Brunetta, the forward card. And
Sorry.
I know, not good at the moment. But like, if he ever comes good again, I'm one of 6 or whoever with that card. That to me, if he returns to the days of Santos and starts banging out hundreds every week, like that is the card that everyone wants to play in their classic slot. So to me, that has still value. You still see cards like that, I think, that still kind of maintain a premium in a way that across years.
I think the value part of it doesn't come into our conversation much because of literally a conversation the 3 of us had months ago about how the way that we yield from Sorare is different than it used to be. And it used to be card appreciation. And yeah, you could win, you know, your thresholds. And if you hit a podium, that's obviously a really good payout. But ultimately, almost everybody bought cards based on the idea that they would go up in value. You could buy it for X and sell it for 2X. And the 3 of us at least have looked at this game for the last few months, basically the last year when they announced the new gameplay, that it's less about what the value of the cards are in terms of like after you get them and more, can you yield more than what you paid for them? Yep. And Keith, how do you feel about that now that you've totaled everything?
I know. So that's a funny thing too, man. I kind of want to get off of fiat and back to ETH because I could just say I spent 1 ETH and didn't have a dollar figure on that. Mm-hmm. And God, once you go in fiat, I'm like, oh, $80 here, $150 there. And then I'm like, damn, that's a nice dinner. Oh man, that's a really nice dinner. And then I totaled, I'll share here. I don't mind. I totaled up my what I've just spent since I decided to go kind of all in on MLS Super Rares for a bit, $3,407. But I was telling Andy Black this is the beauty of Sorare. I have a decent chunk of ETH that I think has gone up from the time I started. So I like the amount that I had in my Sorare total wallet, it hasn't changed technically fiat wise in like 2 or 3 months, because all that the ETH is gaining, that of course it could get back, but it just appreciated. And I was using my cash. I'm like, oh, I got all these cards. I haven't spent any money. I know that's not how it works, but it makes me feel better.
Well, the crazy thing is that like when you go back and you were like you wanted to spend 1.5 ETH on a Carlos Hill rare card, and now you've bought like 30 super rares for the same
for
less.
Well, for less than 1.5 ETH, exactly. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I think I might have gone a little too crazy. A lot of my buys were pre 4 in season super rares. And then the news happened and I just didn't care. So I just kept on buying. So half of them I get a pass on, the other half, not so much. Yeah. Prices of my cards and dinners pretty much.
Delgado super rare. Ah, it's a nice
No, that was more like Chick-fil-A. It was only like $16. So yeah. But yeah, I guess I don't mind what I paid for them. I think I could still very potentially yield it back. I probably put myself in a little precarious situation spending that much, mostly on Classic. But it kind of goes into what somebody mentioned earlier in chat about, all this is fun and games until you go to sell the prices. I want Surf and Laird's opinion on this. I think the super rare market actually is still very sellable. Just... we all got to realize that the prices that you think and you want do not mean the prices that get bought at. And just because one person, like that example you just gave, Surf, with the guy that said that you paid too much for a specific card, just because one person states that is the value, one sale does not dictate value. Like there can just be a guy that paid too much for something because he just wanted it now, and it was only $10 more than the market, and he's just like, whatever, I'm done, I'm moving on.
I think as well, we should always expect the super rare market to be slower because these cards are a higher price. They are more scarce. They are going to change hands a lot less.
Right.
Just by whatever. You should see less market data for these things and stuff like that. And so I think sometimes, I get it that sometimes the super rare market does feel a bit dead, but actually it should take you longer to sell cards. It should.
Right.
That is completely normal. That is completely healthy in my opinion as well, that it should take you longer. And yeah, that's how I kind of feel about that anyway.
Surf, I talked to Keith about it, I think last week. How have you looked at in-season super rare for the upcoming, well, I'm going to say for the upcoming contender season, as if contender isn't actively running, but I feel like in-season Prem rare was kind of like your first foray into in-season competitions, and your move back to super rare, was that with Classic in mind, or was it with kind of a maybe I'll play a little in season? You obviously have picked up a few in seasons.
I've got a balance for when the Argentina cards come, I think. I think but I have to say, like, what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm trying to pick up like guys who've hopped into contender and hopped into Argentina. So guys like Galaza, Ayrton Costa, who's gone to Boca, who I'm not a massive fan of, but I thought he was quite good value at like 50 quid. And kind of using MX a bit there as well. I have a feeling, I have a strong suspicion that when the Argentina cards do come, I'm going to be priced out of some. Like last time, there were a couple of whales who seemed to hoover up like all the early ones, Valus and people like that seemed to hoover up like loads. And I found it difficult to kind of get in there then. So I'm just trying to find ways of kind of competing with them without, necessarily. But like I say, I've got a balance. I think there's a lot of guys I'm after, and I'm also
we've got to go on.
So I'm also kind of thinking I've got this new like I'm going to play Champ SR as well. Just weird. I know. But
Not weird.
But I'm going to try and play that in season a bit. But there's some logic behind that. But I might talk about that a bit later. I don't know.
Did you say Champ?
Yeah.
You heard him right.
Like
that's why my eye.
Sorry, that didn't mean to be like that's a bad idea. That came out.
No, that came out truthful. That was truth. That was Laird.
Yeah.
So hold on. We're going to come back to the price thing. Go, Surf. Explain yourself.
What, on the Champ stuff?
Yes.
So the idea is, and it's the idea is basically, I think we're seeing a bit of like a power shift in terms of South American football and other things like this in this window. There are a lot of like Estudiantes have had this involvement of private investor groups in buying players for them and things. You've seen a lot of like MLS guys wanting to return to Argentina because all of a sudden these clubs have a little bit of money. But they also have the pull of the sentiment of, I used to play for River, I used to play for Boca, I love it. I'm a fan, I want to go back and play for them. But they're like, what they could earn previously was literally like 10% of what they could have got in MLS. And so there was no logic of going there. They may not necessarily be able to compete financially with MLS anymore, but they can get really close to it. And that seems to be bringing a lot of guys back to the league. And so what I'm kind of playing here with the champ stuff is because what we're seeing a lot more of is, like I say, MLS guys coming back, but also guys from champ leagues coming back who are kind of in their close to their prime, like Martinez Quarta, who's been playing for Fiorentina, guys like that who ordinarily would surely just have no business returning to Argentina at this time. And I can only see this kind of progressing further as well. And to me, like, it used to be logical to play MLS and Argentina because the guys moved between the leagues so much. I actually think we might see less of that just from a perspective of, I think now maybe they're going to move more between champ and Argentina. I think your next step's not necessarily going to be, I need to go to MLS to get my European move. Your next step might be the more traditional route of, I need to go to River Plate to get my MLS move. So, well, not MLS move, but to Europe move.
So Larry, let me say in a hard way what I think you're thinking. So you're going to pay champ prices to get contender cards?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
That wasn't what I was going to say.
Oh, you want to say your piece and then he can defend himself on two fronts?
No, honestly, it was the total opposite. I'm sitting here thinking like, I just adore how Surf looks at this game.
Oh,
and like,
are you telling me you aren't doing macroeconomic analysis of world football before you buy cards, Laird? Come on, man.
I think you've just like exposed the gigantic hole in my process here that I haven't gone high enough into the macroeconomics of world football. And it's like one of those things you hear and now all of a sudden you're just like, am I doing everything wrong?
I don't think you are. I think this is a me problem more than like.
but address mine though, because you're talking about.
This is it though. Like he's not he's not buying expensive champ cards.
Okay, that's where I think that's the leaf I met, because he said I'm thinking about playing champ super rare. I don't think you're playing champ super rare with Argentina guys that are buried on the bench that you think are going to get transferred.
No, but an example. I'm not saying he is going to return to Argentina now, but there have been like a couple of links. There's a guy called Julian Malatini who used to play for Defensa, and he was really good in Argentina. Got a move to Werder Bremen. He's kind of sat on the bench. There is at least chatter of someone like that returning,
okay,
and you could buy him now straight off the market. I'm sure I could negotiate and get it cheaper. You can buy him straight off the market for like £30 in season. And so like he comes back to Argentina, that is a card worth way more than £30, regardless probably of whether it's in season or not. So the bench warmers are fine as well. But like I paid £100 for the other day for in season Facundo Buonanotte, who I think is like one of the, like, watching him in Argentina was insane. I thought he was going to absolutely crush it. Moved to Brighton, sat on the bench for a bit. He looks really good for Leicester. Van Nistelrooy seems to like not fully trust him, and he seems to have one bad game, gets dropped, whereas others, yeah. But I think that's a card that could be just worth so much more than £100 possibly. I don't know. But,
is it really? It's because did you say it was an in-season play?
Partly.
Okay, because like to me that's like a Boynet is like more of like a classic play. Like, hey, he could move. Maybe he has a little bit of in-season, but I'm not going to pay the in-season premium.
Yeah, I bought it though without thinking. Like, I thought the in-season partly without thinking, yeah. But the in-season premium I took from that as being like, I think you'd buy him classic for like probably 50, 60 pounds. If he plays a lot this season, he's a good card. I was using him in rare lineups towards the start of the season when he was crushing. So like, he could be very usable as an in-season card this year. I think it's probably worth that premium to kind of gamble that he comes back in and does really well, possibly. I don't know. And yeah, that's somewhat my thinking. There's kind of like, because the other one that I was to use an example was like Rodrigo de Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He was taught, Racing was speaking to him about a move. The I can't remember who it was within Racing were talking to him about a move in this window. He didn't take it, but just the thought that they felt like they could get a guy like that now. He goes to Racing, he's the best card in contender by miles.
Yeah.
Like before he went to Atletico Madrid, like looking back at
Udinese. Holy cow.
Ridiculous. And like
amazing.
Atletico Madrid was literally the only club in the world probably where he was gonna get ruined.
No, I saw exactly where you're going with that. Yeah. Oh my god, you're so right. Literally.
And so it's like, if I buy a Rodrigo de Paul, he's usable for now in Champ.
Right.
But geez, he's the best card in my gallery in 18 months' time potentially.
I'm gonna say I love the strategy. The only tweak I see at all or incorrectness at all is I don't think you need to in season. I think you're like I think you're like thinking, you're like, these cards are okay now, but if they move, they're great, which means I'm not paying their in-season premium right now to be okay, because even if they like do play, like my upside's probably pretty limited versus, people just want to get rid of classics.
Yeah, I think I know where you want to. I completely get you, and I agree. But like, I think my strategy is more like thinking I'll take some in seasons where I don't have to pay the huge premium, and I think that's where I could kind of go. Because then I think as well, because part of it for me as well is like, I really wish I'd got a Rollheiser in season. Like when they do make that move back and they become the smasher, which I think Rollheiser might go to Brazil and he could be really good there. The payoff of having that in season is just obscene potentially.
Well, it's what I ended up being really lucky with Zaha. I literally bought his in season for $50. The first link I saw, even I think it might have been a bullshit account, and I'm like, whatever. That actually makes sense that a guy like that should go somewhere. And MLS kind of makes a lot of sense since he burned out in Turkey. He already did the Turkey move, it burned out. Then he got some sort of loan to Ligue 1, it burned out. It's like, well, he ain't going upward. There's only one direction that this is going. Mm-hmm. So to your point, that's something there. But like, I guess I'm just arguing with you with your intention of saying I'm going to play these cards now. I think the reality of the intention is I'm playing the somewhat of the transfer potential game. And hey, if they stay, it would be nice if they're a little bit usable, but they could be a Goliath if they move back down. That's, I think. Yeah,
because part of my logic here as well is like, I'm really not expecting like returns on a grand scale from these champ guys, like whatsoever. Right. Part of my logic here is regularly hitting that like 20-30% threshold or whatever it is to
get
hit that essence.
Yeah.
And that's throwing some champ essence into my little pool that, admittedly is probably going to be bumped up by tons of contender stuff. But it kind of gives me a shot at.
Yeah, I like it.
At some big stuff. And
get a market credit event every once in a while too. In there,
exactly. Yeah. And like, this is the craziness of this window in Argentina for me. Is the other day I was literally like sat here thinking everyone's moving back. Who could move? And I was like, Rollheiser. Like, he sat on the bench at Benfica. The next day, literally the day after I bought the card, Boca are linked, Estudiantes are linked, and it was like I'd literally just thought this in my head into existence almost. It was bizarre. So like that's kind of the logic, but yeah. We'll see.
There's a joke that chat's not going to get. That robot is actually from the Argentinian clubs, and he's just sitting there at his desk, like, I wonder if he could move. Like, great call.
Because the other part of this as well. Sorry, but the other part.
No, this is fantastic.
Is that guys who have moved from Argentina recently, especially, who I had and have always thought were really good, have actually become really good in champ leagues recently. So like Benjamin Dominguez is like the most recent example of a guy who I sold 6 months ago thinking I don't want him anymore because he's champ. And actually, I kind of wish I'd held because now he's really good. Or not really, really good, but whatever. Santiago Castro's been okay. Lucas Beltran's done kind of fine. I know you're going now, oh, kind of fine. But they're relatively usable. And so stuff like that, I just think like it's kind of cool more to bank on a career than like other stuff, really.
What do you guys think about this comment earlier from Quinny? No one that doesn't already have super rare should think about buying them at the moment. Classics, especially, regions, especially. In-season single league is the only exception if you have the wallet, of course.
I think you do you. I don't know if Surf and I have actually done that great a job of explaining this by why. I think that's actually, we should have started out with this. Surf and I were both like this way with super rare, going upward and increasing our amounts. And then we said, F it. We dropped out. We moved to like, he moved to in-season Prem. I started doing in-season Challenger. I was dipping my toes into in-season La Liga, all this stuff. And then we both went, God, this was not nearly as fun as when we had super rares. Like, there's so many elements of the game that cannot just be derived with the financial symbol that I enjoyed from super rare. It was like one of my better Sorare memories was sending. How I acquired my Teddy Tuma super rare is still like one of my favorite like experiences on the platform because it was so hard and I was backdooring deals and I was like literally I'll just give like the 30-second here. I finally get something. I get like 30 no's at the time. And finally somebody says, if you can get me a Brandon McKelle, I think that's how you say his name, super rare, and you'll add like 0.2 ETH, I'll do it. And I'm like, what? That? Okay. And now all my messages shift and all my offers are like to now get Brandon McKelle. Because this guy says, if I can acquire one, that he'll do the deal. And I was able to get it that way. Like, that was fun. Like, getting super rares can be pretty difficult. Like, I was like so shocked when somebody took my Miguel Almiron super rare in-season offer. That felt like this huge win because there was only a few of them. And now I've got what I think can be an absolutely amazing card in my gallery that is really hard to get. And I wasn't getting that feeling with rares and certainly not limiteds. So that would be my comment to Quinny on that is, you know, if you kind of are wanting a challenge,
I think as well.
Way to do it.
Yeah, I think as well, coming back to what you're saying there about how we'd both moved down and then have come back up, I think personally what we've seen is the value proposition of super rare change in that when we moved down, we were competing for pennies with cards that were apparently worth, according to their market given value, a lot more than what we were able to compete for in a way. I think now, with the way prices have kind of gone, there is a more attractive kind of price point for them now.
You're saying, sorry, clarify. You're saying when we were doing it before, super rares were so expensive versus the reality of like what we could win at that point. You're not saying like when we win because I think rare in
I think when the game changed,
I think those prices are fine. Yes. I'm with you.
When the game changed, the return potential for me anyway in contender super rare it felt like it had gone through the floor. What I'd always played in Champ America, I can't remember when it was now, but I'm sure I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago. There was a period at this time last year, I podiumed something like 10 times in a row in Champ Super Rare or something insane. There was just no way I was going to be able to do that anymore. That podium cash was not unattainable to me, but it's just impossible to do it that regularly in Contender. And so it's like the value proposition to me just it's completely different now to what it was when the changes happened in a way. It's such a cheaper buy, and like I'm able to buy. I bought a card the other day for £15 that I think is going to be a pretty decent scorer, and it's like that's nothing.
What do you say to this, Keith? Are you just on the nostalgia train though, as the chances of winning a decent super these days are close to none, especially in Classic with horrendous rewards?
See, I just don't agree with that take. Like any part of it. Like I've had minimal, like I had sold down my super rare gallery last year to like almost nothing. My Ricky Pooch was available. I just wasn't getting offers that I wanted for it. So I just kept on rolling it out. Like I just kept rolling Ricky Pooch and Christian Benteke and Stephen Fry. I only had a few cards left. And at one point, they won me a Davidson Sanchez in-season super rare that now all of a sudden 1 week I could play that in a, what the hell did I win? Was it like a specialist or anti-stacks competition? And I went, oh my goodness, I'm in pretty good shape here. I'm one card short. So at that time, Vincent Janssen was $120 from Antwerp for a classic card. I'm like, bye. There's the lineup. And I won Virgil van Dijk. And yes, I am just taking like a one example, but that was on top of me also with the Pooch and the Benteke and Martin Ojeda, Surf's favorite. I didn't have many cards, and I still won a lot. Like if you look at my yield on my Benteke card, I think I showed you this. It's absolutely absurd. So I think there is enough content. Sorry, Laird, I'm going to take a little bit of shot. There's a lot of content on this channel from certain people that say Super Rare sucks and it's ruined and we can't do anything. There's other content out there too that Super Rare is just awful. And I think at this point we're just getting this mindset that Super Rare is just awful. And I even look at some of the rewards that I bought that have aged well. I'm like, I don't know, this seems fine to me.
That's sorry, I was a little distracted here because I just sold a Super Rare.
Hey, look at this. The pump's coming. The pump's coming.
Guess which one I sold, Keith?
Jimmy Mauer?
Listed on the market and sold for that price.
Jimmy Mauer? Oh. I don't know. Your Evander is gone.
Caden Clark.
Oh, you had like $200, right?
$217 I got for it.
Oh my dude, that's more than I paid for Hurdle.
I know.
That's almost what I paid for Gil.
Queenie said, I don't think you've looked at the prize pool and the announcement properly, so we're going to look at the prize pool. Let's see. Are we just talking out of our asses? Where do we want to look? Contender? I'll even go classic. I hate that they do it this way.
But I think we should go classic because we don't have in-season. But I'll also say this, the way I value like a tier 3 or a tier 4 super rare is probably very different than everybody else in the terms of like, I'm cool getting a card.
Here we go. Nope, in season, sorry.
This is so difficult.
All right. That's contender.
Okay.
Super rare.
So treat me like I'm dumb. What's the problem there?
I think the issue is that places 1 through 9 will be Pranksy's 3 lineups, Sean's 3 lineups, and Bellama's 3 lineups.
But why? Because Pranksy's going to hit a DNP. Sean's going to pick a wrong captain and get furious about something. And Bellama, I don't know enough of what his mistakes will be, but he'll make one.
So Josh says you're winning more from $3,000 from a rare D1 than winning a tier 1 super rare, and you're paying 3 to 5x more for the
premium. Yeah, but I'm shortening down the pool completely, and I'm raising my opportunity to get that winning card a lot. And again,
I think the big thing that gets me now is if you are starting now, the there is a reasonable opportunity to pay off all of the super rares that you bought with a first place prize.
Yeah, I mean, and this is contender too. I mean, let's just say that MLS is similar to this. Like, yeah, I mean, if I get $800, and let's just go ahead and say that Messi doesn't get rewarded and that it's not Cucho and it's not anything. Let's just say it's Georgi Mihalovic in season. It just happens to be a star. So he's been selling at like 150, 200 for classics. Let's just go ahead and just call it, maybe, you think calling it like $600 or $700 is okay?
Sure.
That's doable. So I'm at $1,500 there, and I have all these other cards. I have multiple lineups. I don't know. I'm not taking this as an analytics test of like where my best ROI is. I think for me, a lot of this is just fun. I enjoy super rare more. I enjoy the challenge. If my ROI is a little bit less than rare, that's fine. I'm like, I find it more enjoyable. I'm not doing this because I think this is like this is not me proclaiming like stacking like Real Betis and doing this is like a better ROI move. This is the complete opposite. This is a better lifestyle ROI, enjoying the game move for me.
Just as a thing as well, like especially with contender, less so elsewhere, but like I can look at most Wales gallery in contender and not necessarily feel scared about it.
Mm-hmm.
In that, like Sean's got good contender cards, but like I don't look at it and go, I can't beat his cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's such a kind of knowledgey. I know I've said about this before. There's such like a knowledgey type edge to it all. And I think that's where you're going as well. I because I've said this, that I think your knowledge edge works harder for you in super rare and the higher up you go than it does elsewhere. Personally,
that's a great.
And that's how I think you feel about MLS as well. Is like you said before, like you analyze the matchups better. You can make those bigger gains from your knowledge edge in super rare, I think.
But I think that you could I think that was Quinny's argument, right? Like you could argue that the ROI, and Laird has done it on LTO and places like that you can turn $25 into $3,000, and you can't do that in super rare. So just if you want to go on like an analytics game, like, yeah, like, you know, your upside and things like that might be better in champ and challenger rare, all these places, but it comes down to what you want to do and what you want to follow, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like as well, I think we'd all say the same thing. I've never, not since like day one of the game, or the first few months of the game when I had Nicolas de la Cruz, I haven't treasured a rare card. Like, I haven't gone like, I love this card so much. I had this Nicolas de la Cruz that was like the 5th one they ever dropped, and it won me a lot, and I loved it. But like a few years into the game, the only cards I really care about and treasure are my super rares. I just don't really care. I care about the rest, but I don't. Yeah, I don't anymore. Actually, you can buy any of my rares. By the way, anyone, they're all for sale.
Do you know how many contender super rares Bellama owns?
Yeah, so he's not playing there.
Pranksy owns 19.
So he's not playing there.
Just like collection cards,
right?
Well, your biggest concern is things like the Celtic stack going off a week and stuff like that. But it's like, you know, you've done it before with the Nakaxa stack. You'd have only won more probably in if you had that in super rare rather than in limited or rare or whatever.
I tried to get it in super rare.
But is there not also the thought too in classic that because the numbers, like what we started out with this, because the numbers in super rare aren't going to be growing nearly as exponentially as they do in rare and limited, that from just a pure classic perspective, like, yes, your odds drop a little bit next year, but if they keep the game the same, you can still win new ones. That Nakaxa stack can try to go again. If you had Nakaxa
it's going
stack.
again.
You know what I'm saying? But like Nakaxa super rare stack, your odds generation didn't change a ton.
Can I just quickly, because Josh has raised a really interesting point. Yeah, I find that super interesting because I completely agreed with him 6 to 8 months ago. I completely agreed with that. That's why partly the reason why I sold out was because Argentina cards sucked in comparison to every other contender.
So China cards? Did he have a lot of China?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you go back to the best days of River under Gallardo at the end of, mid to end of Gallardo's reign, and River would have won contender probably quite a bit, I'd imagine. Ultimately, we had River sucked last year.
Right.
Racing were kind of like rotating in and out for the Sudamericana. And Gimnasia and whoever else just weren't bothered. It wasn't worth playing with them. I feel kind of different about things this year. Like I say, loads of really good players have come into the league. Racing, River, Boca should be good.
So there's another really important point, and Josh, that's such a fantastic point that you brought up. But like my initial thought is not only what you just said there, Surf. You just named one user. We just named one user. There is no rare or limited competition where like, oh, well, just this guy, right? Like, but like when we go to Super and stuff, where we're like, oh, well, Pranksy. Oh, well, guess what? Pranksy could make a mistake. Nanzo could make a mistake. All this stuff happens. Now you're limiting like. I'm not as intimidated by like 1 to 2 galleries that I think could be better than mine in a specific competition than I am with 300 or 600 galleries. So there's, even if you go that my ROI percentage is less, you're like, I think I'll be competing more. And how many times have we seen these big galleries, because they have so many lineups to do, that there's like, I remember, again, not to bring Sean up all the time, but like, remember Sean, every once in a while going through Pranksy's galleries when he was first on and like looking at his unique lineup and being like, why would he do that? Like sometimes mistakes happen when you have a lot of stuff to deal with. So, Surf talked about the knowledge gap. I think I have a huge knowledge gap in MLS. Surf has a huge knowledge gap in Argentina. Like this is a better place where we can exploit it versus less people than in limited, where you could have guys that know so much more about MLS than me, but just haven't made the venture up to super rare. I don't have to take them on.
I like this line from Hallian. Big galleries win every week. They don't win with every lineup.
Can we hang that in the Louvre? Well done. Can I bring us a different conversation? I actually have left my chat all the way up to like 30 minutes ago. And I have a heart out here in 20. But Josh and a couple people, Liam, were talking about like the valuation of these cards. And a comment I made earlier about like it's what you can pay for them. Like the valuation of super rare cards too is so wide and can go so many ways. Like you can have, like somebody brought up, you can have an outlier on the bottom end, and now all of a sudden everybody wants to buy the card for that price because somebody sold. I saw a Jonathan Bamba in-season super rare go for $75 yesterday. Okay, which is a killer deal in my opinion. I then bought a classic Jonathan Bamba super rare for $80. That does not look like a nearly as good of a deal, but it almost seemed like because that in-season one, people started dropping the classic prices, and I'm like, I know what I've paid for cards and feel good about my deals. I want a piece of potentially him, and that's a price I'm willing to pay. That's what it literally became. It was a price I felt good about paying based on what I had spent on other cards and things like that. I might have been the only person willing to pay $80 for Jonathan Bamba, and I might be the only person for the next month willing to pay that. And that's also, to me, what's kind of beautiful about this game is if there's only one person willing to sell who was the card earlier that the guy told you overpaid for? That
was Matthias Sorare, who used to be at Mineiro, is now going to Racing.
And you said there was only like 5 cards, right?
5 or 6, I think. 5 or 6.
If there, let's just call it 5. 4 guys are Surf clones that are in love with this guy, and with the exception of this absurd price, they tell you they'll do it for $1,000. You're like, no, I can't do that. I will really screw up my. But 4 guys won't do it, and 1 guy does it, and you go, I want the experience of this card enough that it probably is worth $25 or $30, and I'll pay you $60. I'll pay you $100. It's fine. And now, did I screw up the market? I don't know. I did made 1 sale.
Yes.
It looks like an outlier to me, right? But I think that this is like the beauty, in my opinion, of Super Rare 2, is because there's so many less. Like, if you don't want to sell your card and it's the only one, don't. Or say, I could be enticed by a really crazy offer and just see how crazy somebody's willing to go. I mean, again, we don't have that stuff in Rare because we have so many sales that we've established what a baseline and what an actual valuation is. When you have just one sale in the last 6 months, it doesn't really mean that much.
It's just a totally different experience. The whole game is
a different game. I guess that's what I even go back to Quinny's comment. It's just a different game. And I really enjoy it. And I don't know if I'll be profitable. There's a decent chance I'm not. And I'm completely okay with that. And I'm about to spend a lot more money when the end seasons come out. There's still a really good chance that I'm not going to be profitable. And I'm cool with that.
There was actually a question about that. Where was that? Basically, like, how long are you willing to go? Oh man, where was it?
Oh boy.
I can't find it, but it was basically that. Like, how long are you willing to go, Keith, at least with your MLS thing, before you're like, this isn't working, or do you not have a
I work in houses. I see big holes get dug every once in a while, and yeah, I think that there's a big hole that I could find myself in, and I'm okay with that. What do they say? If you're in a big hole, just keep digging. That's probably not the saying, but that's kind of keep doing. The gold will be there eventually. Now, I've strongly considered, with the exception of my Liverpool guys, selling everything else in my gallery. Everything else non-MLS in my gallery. I don't really enjoy Challenger. I'm not caring about these weekend stuff. Like, I don't win something and it doesn't do anything for me. But MLS is back, and I'm going to be glued to MLS Season Pass. I'm going to sweat every one of the 97 notifications I have in the first hour of red cards, own goals. So rare. I'm going to make a plea. Nicholas, look at me. Bring in second assists. If it's an MLS league,
no, please don't do that.
No, don't listen to him. Don't listen to that guy.
Please
bring in the chaos, and you can drop it.
I can't even let. Sorry, I cannot have that.
Oh my God, Laird! Look at Andy. Andy's ready for it. Andy, come on in. Oh my God, that would be. Oh, will we break the app? Are you worried about Sorare data breaking?
No. I've long been an opponent of fake stats. That's all it is.
Excuse me. Have you? So you're a guy that is like, you've got the 70-yard diagonal that just opens everything up, and it's immediate cross to a striker and a header, and you're like, congratulations, Virgil. We'll give you a golf clap later. Give that.
No, you have that. You have a pass into the opposition third, long pass. We have it. All right, we've got it.
You guys would love this one. So, like, back in the old Football Index days, the big thing that you used to try and get in the Football Index days was the game-winning goal. You got extra points for when your goal was game-winning, and so it led. And I'm shitting you not. When people did their like little spreadsheets of the various stats of, people were putting in things like, this guy like scores his goals. He always scores the game-winning goal and things like that. But like, that was such a bizarre thing. It was.
So that, remember, I'm going to do a Liverpool thing, but remember a couple years back that Allison got the winning header, or like it was a header to tie, I believe, that got Liverpool fourth place to get into the Champions League. Yeah. So that would have been a guaranteed 100, even though he probably I think he conceded too, but he scored a goal, and it was the goal to, get a point.
The game-winning goal, yeah.
I can't believe I let you go as long as you did, to be honest.
Me. Yeah. Trying to grab the camera. Nicholas, listen, this is what we need. Oh man, but again, why do I like MLS? It's pure chaos. It's everybody else in the world plays civilized football, but MLS is just pure and utter chaos, and it's part of what I love about it. And I think it's great that it's a single league, and I'm really looking forward to playing in Super Rare. I think that's where I'm going with it.
But this is the kind of neat thing as well about Super Rare as well, because we've had it a couple of times already, where our guys have kind of, you've had guys move to Argentina, and it's like I would struggle to acquire the Alan Velasco had I not known you and been able to say, hey, I'll pay. But it's same goes. I've got a Baltasar Rodriguez who's going to go to Inter Miami, I think, or one of them in MLS. Apparently, Lairdinho. Yeah.
Let's go.
And if he goes and he's good, I've got the one that you can have.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is completely fine. Like, it's cool that Surf and I are friends because, like, he's my contender liquidity for this. These guys that I think are really good in the MLS, and they go down. Surf's like, yeah, I love them because, like, I have a Martin Ojeda, and he started getting linked.
I wanted.
I know, and I literally, Surf already said, just so you know, if Martin Ojeda does come down to Argentina, just let me know what the good value. Let's just make a deal happen, which is really nice. I mean, again, it's just a different game, right? Like in Rare, it would be look at the market. Here's the valuation.
Yeah.
And Super Rare, it's like, well, here's the valuation. What I'm willing to pay. Is that something that I'm willing to sell it for? Would you do it? And Surf's like, yeah, no problem. Let's do that.
This is about Balta, and man, those are two very different outcomes.
Who is it again? Gonzalez Perez?
Baltasar
Rodriguez. Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. I had no idea who that is.
He was a Racing.
And
apparently there was a question about game-winning goals getting more points on a So Rare questionnaire.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Hold on. I love that I said oh no to that, and I'm over here screaming for hockey assists. So
yeah, really.
I probably need a sanity check.
But no, ZM Star, I did not get a Farias, but if you know anyone in the market who's selling, let me know.
I had another thing to ask you guys, and it totally lost the hockey assist thing. Just erased my entire mind.
I'm so sorry, I'm not all at the same time.
Just melting my brain. Oh, what was it?
We did skip over the comment as well. Someone said earlier that they really like my outfit, so we missed that one. You know,
I dig it. I rocked one of my. I don't even know how to say their name.
Cagliari. Yeah. It's actually quite easy.
I think it's a guy though that if he goes to Argentina, I should just send this to you, Surf. I think. Hold on,
Lapadula. Yeah.
Wasn't he Argentina?
I think he was. Yeah. I think he was. Yeah.
What did you? Was that a box victory?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea.
No, I haven't won a jersey in a box. I think it was coins. And this is signed. By the way, hold on. I'm gonna call it Andy Black. I'm gonna call it Andy Black on here. We're going off topic. But
I think Lapadula was Peruvian. I could be wrong.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Sorry. But Andy, I'm sorry to out you here. How do you guys feel about this? Because I don't like it. I think quadruple washed a jersey to get the signatures out so he could wear it.
Yeah, he did. It was many more times than that. What jersey was it?
I guess Surf did not know this.
Oh,
no, it was a hamburger. No. It was Hamburg. Yes, it was.
I don't think it was because Alistair just won. Wasn't it Alistair who got a hamburger?
But he's going to do the same thing.
And he wants to do the same thing.
Andy was like giving him.
You're right.
Yeah, Andy was giving him instructions. I was offended. I love my Hamburg.
There are literally multiple people that we know that are trying to wash out Hamburg team signatures from
somewhere. Oh God, what's the name of the content creator? Fiago is dying somewhere.
10 times.
10 times. Surely at 10 times as well, like some of the stuff starts peeling off. That's what I sometimes find.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The great news is that I'm like, sorry for outing you, Andy. And Andy's like, no, I want to be outed on this.
He's gonna do a how-to video soon.
Hold on, your next you guys haven't done them in a while, but your next Andrew's little skit beforehand, is how to wash out a Sorare sign.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
I got nothing more on the topic. I
Yeah.
think what I said on what I retweeted you, Laird, if that's what we call it anymore. But what I retweeted was you did the little description for the video, like Sorare, and I said I'm going to fix it and why you should not. The reality is probably what Quinny said. Most of people should not, but here's at least 2 opinions on why we are.
Well, what's funny about it is that I felt like the conversation started with concern essentially about how many like duplicate lineups and that the strategy of Sorare is going to be very different in 4 years, but super rare won't be because there're just not as many cards. And instead it's like, no, we're doing this, but we're playing now. We're not planning on playing super rare in 5 years and starting in 5 years. It's starting now and going until then.
And that was like what I was joking with my own backward justification, right? Like, oh, this is a long-term move. No, it's we enjoy the game right now. And this is the game we actually really, really enjoy. And that I had somebody DM me. I think this might be a good like way to end this. That it was like a final guide DNP on a lineup that was just crushing. And it's like, this sucks, but God, this sucked so much more 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And I think I'm at the point with super rare that it will hurt me just as much as it did 6 to 8 months ago. Like I'm that excited about these lineups and I haven't had that in a while. Like I'm literally in the lineup builder for February 21st, 25th. I don't know the game week number, but I have built all my lineups. I built through rare. I'm literally looking at matchups like, should I fill a gap here? Like I'm that in on it. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny, who we should have just had Quinny on too. Maybe Quinny will take Keith's spot next week during his suspension for the hockey assist recommendation. But anyway, Surf, thanks for coming on. Keith, good to talk to you. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Good luck on all your card acquisitions. And don't forget to go outside.